Imagine standing at a crossroads. On your left, a sleek, silent electric vehicle, promising a future of zero emissions and jaw-dropping acceleration. On your right, a hybrid, half gasoline, half electric, boasting unbeatable range and the comforting reliability of good old-fashioned fuel stops. Which road would you choose? And more importantly, are you sure you know what really lies ahead on either path? This is not just about cars. It's about future-proofing your wallet, your lifestyle, and maybe even the planet. With governments racing to ban new gasoline cars, battery breakthroughs making headlines, and automakers throwing billions into electrification, the decision between a hybrid and a full electric car has never been more fraught or more fascinating. Today, we're diving deep into the global EV boom, the hybrid holdouts, and the hidden consequences of the choices we make every time we turn the key or press that start button. Stay tuned, because in the next 20 minutes, you might just rethink everything you thought you knew about the cars of tomorrow. Let's rewind a bit. Just a couple of decades ago, if you said electric vehicle, most people pictured golf carts and science fair experiments. The General Motors EV1 was an early attempt in the 90s, but most consumers just weren't ready. Batteries were heavy, expensive, and the cars could barely make it across town on a single charge. Sales fizzled out, the model disappeared, and it seemed like electric cars would remain a fantasy for eco-idealists. Enter the hybrid. When Toyota launched the Prius in 1997, the world was skeptical. A car that ran partly on gasoline and partly on battery? It seemed like a compromise nobody asked for until people tried it. Suddenly, taxi drivers and everyday commuters were racking up hundreds of thousands of miles on these ultra-efficient machines, spending less at the pump and feeling a little better about their carbon footprint. But it was Tesla that truly lit the spark under the global EV revolution. The Roadster proved electric cars could be fast and fun. The Model S shattered range records and set the stage for the mass-market Model 3. Now, names like Rivian, BYD, and Lucid Motors are flooding the roads with futuristic battery-powered rides. In 2024, global EV sales surged to a jaw-dropping 17 million, up 25% in just 1 year. China quickly took pole position, accounting for an astonishing 60% of those sales and leading the pack in battery innovation and manufacturing. Meanwhile, countries like Germany are seeing millions of electric vehicles registered, and even the U.S. federal government is pushing policies and tax credits worth thousands to get you behind the wheel of an EV. Yet, amidst all this electrified excitement, hybrids haven't faded into history. In fact, for many people, they just make more sense, at least right now. Why? Let's break down the key factors that make the choice so complex. First, there's range, the heart of the hybrid versus EV debate. Take the 2025 Ford F-150 hybrid. It boasts an epic 704-mile range. That's Edmonton to Montana or Vancouver on a single tank. For regular drivers, that means weeks, even months, between stops at the gas station. No planning, no map apps searching desperately for nearby charging stations. Compare that to even the top-performing EVs. The 2024 Tesla Model 3 long-range RWD clocked 310 miles in real-world highway tests, just 85% of its official EPA estimate. Many EVs still struggle to hit 300 miles in varied conditions, and if the mercury drops, things get even trickier. According to the U.S. Department of Energy, electric cars can lose up to 41% of their range in freezing weather. That puts drivers in cold climates in a tough spot. For a Canadian or anyone north of the Mason-Dixon line, suddenly that cross-country road trip, or even an intercity visit, might mean nervously watching the battery gauge, hoping for a charging station that isn't out of order or blocked. It's not just about convenience, it's about trust. Hybrid drivers take comfort in knowing no matter how far off the grid they go, a gas station is usually just a few miles away. The same can't be said for chargers, especially in rural areas where the charging infrastructure simply hasn't caught up. But the story doesn't end there. Operating costs are where EVs start to flex their muscle. With fewer moving parts, no oil changes, no spark plugs or timing belts, electric vehicles require far less maintenance. According to the U.S. Department of Treasury, the average EV driver pockets about $1,750 a year in fuel and maintenance savings compared to a gasoline-powered car. That's enough for a weekend getaway, or a serious dent in your monthly bills. Home charging is another game changer. Imagine never stopping at a gas station again, refueling while you sleep. The average cost to install a Level 2 home charger is about $2,200, not pocket change, but certain to pay off for city dwellers or anyone with a garage. Suddenly, daily driving costs start to look almost negligible. And let's not ignore the driving experience. EVs are whisper quiet. Step on the accelerator and instant torque rockets you ahead, sometimes outpacing even high-performance sports cars. It's a very different feeling from the hum and rumble of an internal combustion engine. Andrew Hawkins put it bluntly in The Verge. Once you've experienced the seamless acceleration and silent glide of a modern EV, it's hard to go back. Of course, for many, the biggest argument for going electric isn't acceleration, but the environment. After the initial manufacturing emissions, an EV's carbon footprint drops dramatically, especially if your local power grid is clean. No tailpipe, no fumes, and if you're charging from renewable energy, your guilt just about disappears. But here's a crucial catch. Plug-in hybrids, which can run short trips on electricity alone before switching to gas, aren't always as clean as they seem. Recent real-world tests revealed that their emissions can be up to 2.5 times higher than official lab numbers suggest. If you don't plug them in often, or you rely heavily on the gas engine, those green credentials start looking a lot less shiny. There's also the innovation factor. EVs are now at the cutting edge of automotive design. Giant screens, over-the-air software updates, and even the ability to power your home during a blackout, like with the F-150 Lightning, are features you just don't find in traditional hybrids or gas cars. For tech lovers, buying a new EV can feel a little like driving the future today. But let's be real, not everyone is ready or able to make that leap. Affordability remains a massive barrier. According to a recent Deloitte study, 3 out of 4 potential car buyers aren't willing to spend more than $50,000 on an EV. That's a problem, since many models still cost significantly more upfront than their hybrid or gas counterparts, even after tax credits. Ford, for instance, is shelving plans for a luxury electric SUV to focus on a much more affordable $25,000 compact crossover, hoping to attract price-conscious drivers. Michelle Krebs of Cox Automotive summed up the challenge. Affordability remains a substantial barrier to EV adoption, particularly for lower-income households, necessitating more affordable models and incentives. And then there's the charging infrastructure. Yes, the market for EV charging networks is booming, valued at $17.6 billion today, and projected to soar to over $100 billion by 2033. Everyone from governments to gas stations is racing to build out fast chargers. But for now, coverage is spotty, especially outside major cities. Long road trips still require meticulous planning, and fast chargers aren't always as fast or as reliable as promised. Daniel Yergin of S&P Global warns, the transition to EVs will require massive investment in charging infrastructure and grid upgrades to support the increasing demand for electricity and ensure reliable charging access. Solid-state batteries are often touted as the silver bullet. Promised to boost range by up to 80% and slash charging times, they could finally bring EVs on par with gasoline in practical terms. But as Sandy Monroe, a manufacturing expert, points out, solid-state batteries are a game-changer, offering higher energy density and improved safety, but mass production remains a significant challenge for the industry. That breakthrough may be years, or even decades, away. Meanwhile, governments aren't waiting around. The U.S. wants half of all new vehicles sold by 2030 to be electric. California plans to ban new gasoline car sales by 2035, and the European Union is preparing similar laws. The message is clear: the age of internal combustion is ending, whether or not infrastructure and affordability are ready to pick up the slack. So where does that leave the average driver? On one hand, the gas station is familiar, and the hybrid offers comfort and confidence on long, cold trips. On the other, the electric car is tempting with its low running costs, minimal maintenance, and the feeling, real or not, of doing your part for the environment. But is the EV revolution really inevitable, or are we heading for a cold, expensive reality check? Are hybrids just a stopgap? Or could the so-called compromise be the smartest move in a world where technology, policy, and infrastructure are racing to catch up with our ambitions? Before you log on to that dealership website or start dreaming about life with a Tesla or Toyota badge, there's one more piece of the puzzle we haven't explored. What happens as millions more drivers plug in, and our roads, cities, and even electrical grids face pressures they've never seen before? Can the promise of electric mobility survive the next wave of challenges? Or will hidden costs and unforeseen obstacles stall the future we've all been promised? The answer might surprise you. Stick around, because the real test for both hybrids and EVs is just about to begin. As we look beyond the present debates over hybrids and full electrics, the horizon is ablaze with intrigue, possibility, and yes, a fair dose of risk. The world is moving fast. Global EV sales shattered another record, soaring to 17 million units in 2024. China's relentless push leads the charge, accounting for a whopping 60% of all electric cars sold last year. Everywhere you look, the contours of the automotive future are being redrawn. But what does this rapid transformation actually mean for drivers, for cities, for the very notion of what a car is? Already, whispers of technological revolutions ripple through the industry. Solid-state batteries, once the stuff of lab dreams, are inching closer to reality, promising up to 80% greater range and super-fast charging times. Imagine a family EV with a 500-mile range, charging in just 15 minutes while you grab a coffee. Its battery built to last for decades instead of just years. Yet for all the excitement, the electric revolution faces big, gnarly challenges. Infrastructure is racing to keep pace. While the global EV charging market is projected to reach an eye-watering $105 billion by 2033, for many drivers, especially in rural or apartment-bound urban settings, finding a convenient charger is still a hassle. Expert Daniel Yergin warns, the transition to EVs will require massive investment in charging infrastructure and grid upgrades to ensure reliable access. And then there's the question of the grid. As millions more EVs plug in, electricity demand surges. Will our aging power systems be ready? What happens on those sweltering summer days when everyone's cranking their AC and a fleet of EVs is charging at once? The answer lies in smart grids and innovations like vehicle-to-grid (V2G) technology. In this scenario, your car doesn't just take power, it gives back, stabilizing the grid and maybe even earning you a little extra cash. Picture a future where EVs act like mobile power banks, cushioning blackouts and making renewable energy more stable. Policies are another wild card. Governments across the world are tightening emission standards and laying down deadlines for the end of gasoline-powered sales. California is leading the march, aiming to halt new gas car sales by 2035. The EU is poised for similar bans. This regulatory push is both carrot and stick, tax incentives and rebates, but also looming penalties for those clinging to fossil fuel tech. But the transition may not be smooth. Lower-income families in particular will struggle if affordable EVs don't arrive quickly enough, or if infrastructure lags behind promises. Michelle Krebs of Cox Automotive notes, affordability remains a substantial barrier to EV adoption, particularly for lower-income households, necessitating more affordable models and incentives. The market is responding. Ford, for one, is shelving its high-end electric SUVs to focus on a $25,000 budget EV. And recent studies show most buyers won't spend over $50,000 for a new car, electric or not. There's also a reckoning underway with the real-world impact of alternatives like plug-in hybrids, PHEVs. On paper, they seem like the ultimate compromise: cleaner city driving, endless range for road trips. But tests reveal that their emissions can be over twice as high as official figures suggest if owners don't plug in regularly. The environmental edge, in many cases, may be more marketing than material. So, where do all these moving pieces leave us? The landscape is complex, and the future, while electric, is far from one-size-fits-all. Let's zoom in on some possible scenarios. In the best-case world, battery breakthroughs arrive fast. Solid-state cells deliver 500-mile ranges and 10-minute fast charging. Chargers sprout like mushrooms across highways and neighborhoods. Smart grids hum with clean wind and solar, drawing on millions of EVs as backup batteries. The cost of EVs tumbles, putting them within easy reach for almost everyone. The air in our cities clears. Road trips no longer require anxious charger hunting. EVs outnumber gas cars. The electric dream, fulfilled. But in the real world, transitions are rarely that smooth. Battery tech might stall. Costs could stay stubbornly high. Supply chains, already stretched by lithium and rare mineral shortages, might struggle to meet demand. Widespread charging access might remain elusive outside major metros. Policymakers could fumble, pulling back incentives before the market is ready, or failing to ensure grid reliability. In the worst case, frustration and backlashes could stall the revolution, leaving drivers in limbo between old and new worlds. There's also the risk of hidden costs. Massive EV adoption strains the grid, requiring costly upgrades that could translate to higher utility bills. Meanwhile, repair shops and mechanics face a skills shortage. Fixing a high-voltage EV isn't quite like swapping spark plugs. Insurance premiums for EVs can be higher, reflecting the complexity and cost of battery repairs after accidents. On the opportunity side, entire new industries are emerging. Battery recycling, grid software management, ultra-fast charging networks, and subscription-based car features made possible by always-connected EVs. Jobs are shifting from oil fields and engine assembly lines to gigafactories and software labs. Some experts see EVs as the spark for a whole new chapter in mobility, a digital, adaptable transportation network where your car might double as your office, your generator, or even a revenue source. So, what does all this mean for you, the consumer, the driver, the would-be EV owner? It means now is a time of choice, but also transition. The first lesson, know thy needs. If you thrive on road trips through rural country or live where winters drop below zero, a hybrid or plug-in might still be your best friend. That unbeatable range and the ubiquity of gas stations make hybrids a pragmatic, low-anxiety option. Taxi fleets around the globe trust them for a reason: flexibility and minimal downtime. Yet if your daily routine is mostly urban or suburban, with a driveway where you can install a home charger, EVs shine. Imagine skipping the gas station forever, plug in overnight, wake up with a full tank every morning, and enjoy the hush of a nearly silent cabin. Maintenance is a breeze. No oil changes, no exhaust pipes, no spark plugs, just you, your car, and the open road. And the math is tilting in EV's favor. According to the U.S. Treasury, EV owners save an average of $1,750 a year just on fuel and repairs. Over a 5-year ownership window, that's nearly $9,000, enough for a major vacation, a new bike, or a hefty chunk off your next down payment. Factor in government rebates, and the financial picture looks even brighter. But it's not just about dollars and cents. For many, the appeal of EVs is emotional, a sensation of instant torque, the thrill of cutting-edge design, and the satisfaction of knowing your commute leaves less of a mark on the planet. Some of the smartest, most creative vehicles on the road today are electric. Dashboard-wide screens, cars that back up power your home during outages, software updates that unlock new features overnight. And yet, the hybrid camp remains strong. For those unwilling or unable to gamble on charging availability, or who shudder at the thought of a 40% winter range loss, hybrids offer a safety net. As one Canadian driver put it, range anxiety isn't an issue when I can fill up at any station in minutes, no matter the weather. There are a few essential takeaways to help you make sense of this evolving landscape. First, there's no universal right answer. Your location, habits, budget, and even local weather matter more than ever. Do a realistic audit. How far do you drive? What's your access to charging? What incentives or rebates are available in your region? Second, the technology is changing fast. Don't ignore future-proofing. If you're shopping for a new car today, ask about over-the-air software updates, charging speed, battery warranty, and resale value. If possible, test drive both a hybrid and a full EV. The driving experience is fundamentally different. Try before you buy. Third, think infrastructure. If you can install a level 2 charger at home, averaging $200 in the US, EV ownership becomes far easier. For apartment dwellers and renters, investigate local charging options or advocate with your landlord and city for more stations. As public and workplace charging expands, these barriers will fall. But for now, planning ahead is crucial. Fourth, keep an eye on policy and incentives. Laws and rebates change quickly. The U.S. Inflation Reduction Act, for example, can knock up to $7,500 off the price of a qualifying new EV. States and provinces may add their own perks. But some programs have eligibility rules about where the car or its battery was made, so check before you buy. Finally, don't underestimate the impact of your decision. Switching to an EV or hybrid isn't just a personal convenience, it's a vote for cleaner cities, quieter streets, and a more resilient energy system. But don't let environmental guilt push you toward a choice that won't fit your life or budget. As one industry analyst put it, the greenest car is usually the one you keep the longest. Where does this leave us with our big question? Will EVs deliver on their world-changing promises, or are there hidden pitfalls that could stall the movement? The truth is, EVs are not a miracle cure, but as battery tech and infrastructure mature and affordable models proliferate, their advantages will become impossible to ignore. The days of 100-mile range and glacial charging are fading into history. If you can wait a couple more years, you may find yourself in a golden era of choice, with longer range, faster charging, and more affordable EVs than ever. But the path will not be perfectly smooth. Policy, infrastructure, and consumer habits must align. unexpected bumps, like battery raw material shortages, grid hiccups, or regulatory U-turns, could slow progress. Yet the momentum is unmistakably electric. And as for that secret fact about the electric revolution, few people realize that many EVs of the near future will not only move us around, they'll help power our homes and stabilize the whole grid. In fact, the energy in the batteries of America's EVs by 2030 could supply more than half the country's daily residential electricity needs for several hours. Your next car might just be the most important appliance in your life. So whether you're on the fence, a hybrid diehard, or an EV evangelist, now's the time to get informed and get ready. Watch this space, because the next 5 years will decide the shape of transportation for the next 50. If you found this deep dive into hybrids and EVs useful, hit the like button, subscribe, and let us know what's stopping you from going electric.